And good morning, everybody. Good morning, Patriots. It's Chris Cordani filling in for Tony Shaffer. He will be in very, very soon. But when I'm on the mic, I also like to bring in one of my favorite people, Angie Wong, who is my co-host, of course, on Prime Roast. We have a lot of fun there.
Hi,
Angie.
guys. Hi, everyone. Hi, Wednesday. It's Wednesday before the big inauguration, Chris. Are you excited? Because I'm like already planning out my party looks for this whole thing. I can't wait for this president to finally get into office. Fingers crossed still. It's still a couple of days and it's still a long road. Anything can happen. I really pray that everyone is around him, protecting him to make sure that he finally gets into 1600 Pennsylvania.
Yeah, let's see what the left tries to do to stop that in the next few days. They're already burning down the country, and I'm not talking about Los Angeles. So I'm not. But if any liberal is watching, which they probably aren't, they're going to. Oh, he's making an insensitive comment. I make a lot of insensitive comments, but I'm not doing that about the fire. Okay, that's my thing. However, the world globalist left and Joe Biden are doing their best to burn things down, so Donald Trump doesn't. Get to do the things he wants to do, doesn't get to rally the troops like he wants. He might get some more help or a lot more help than people think. Look, we already have Malay on his side. We have Maloney. We have NATO, which is NATO is going to buckle under and pay their fair share. I'm sure they're going to because they're afraid of losing us. And Canada might even come to its senses and not bring in those liberals and bring in the Apple guy. I love the Apple interviews with Pierre Pulver.
The Apple interviews?
Yeah,
did I miss that?
Yeah, there were a couple of interviews. One earlier, a bunch of months ago, where a reporter is asking him all these questions. Well, people say you say these right-wing things. The guy's chomping on an apple. Pierre Pulver is the conservative leader of Canada. He's chomping on an apple and saying, like what? What are they saying? And his liberal reporters say, well, people are what people? Chomping on an apple. I know this because I used to have a news director that would chomp on an apple when he talked to me over the phone in the morning phone call, and it was a form of intimidation. And this reporter was clearly shaken up with every bite because every time Pulver corrected the guy, he'd mix in some apple munches and make it even worse on the guy. But I caught on to the news director after a little while. I was working for a small station up in the Hudson, a TV station in the Hudson Valley, and it was. The culture, well, I'm not even going to talk about that. But the fact is, though, the apple munching, you got used to it after a while and were able to tune it out. But these reporters are a little slimy and squirmy and wormy that they got a little more intimidated.
Yeah, I have to find that that intimidation tool. I don't have one. I feel like I need one, Chris.
That's right, because when people talk to you about Miami-Dade and when it's good, how it's keeping red, because you're saying all these right-wing things that are riling up the masses. You just chomp on an apple, so really,
or an orange. I mean, that's
right.
like that's a Floridian fruit, right? So
Yeah.
I got to chomp on orange. I just throw orange peels as I talk to people.
Well,
that would do it.
Chomp the apple. And this is what I say to the Patriots out there: if somebody's really annoying you. It was if they're really annoying you, they start like yammering in your ear about everything under the sun that you're just getting tired of them saying things over and over. Pull out an apple, chomp on it, and talk to them. It'll make them stop. It'll take them aback a little bit. I promise you this: it is going to happen. And they don't like the chewing in your ear either.
Yeah, the chomp, chomp, chomp. Yeah, you need like something that also spits food out as you're talking, right? Like little bits and pieces, so people
like a
keep their
Democrat
social
congressman
distancing from you.
Yeah, people spit while they talk. I'm a Democrat Congress member. I want to save some of the Nancy Quatro Glass is joining us in a little bit. Tony Shaffer is doing a Newsmax bit, so he is coming in a little bit.
Oh, good. I
want to save some of the Hegseth videos for him, but I do want to show a couple to you because we have to talk about this. Pete Hegseth, for all the criticism he's taking from the left, he is able to stand up in front of the wind tunnel of annoying Democrats and just say, you know what, you guys are full of it. Or, well, this is how I'm going to do the job. Or my personal favorite, snide comments, because that's what they try. That's their best. That's their intimidation factor. They try to snide comment everybody. And I have to tell you this, boy, did Elizabeth Warren really try to tell him off this time. She tried a gotcha moment against Pete Hegseth, and see what happens here.
And other words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. But you're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
And they're all look at the guy next to her. Look at the guy next to her. Like, oh my gosh, she's such an idiot.
Yeah, I love these gotcha moments that completely fall on their face. And look, this is another Amy Barrett Cohen moment where it's like, Miss Barrett, what do you have on your pad? What are you writing down there? And it's like totally blank. This is coming off my mind. And it's like, I'm just gonna speak my mind. Yeah, look, this is all just showmanship. We know that Pete's already in. He's already gotten the votes. In fact, almost all of Trump's cabinet picks, they're in. This is just a formality. It's fun, though, watching these guys lose their minds because you know what? This is going to be a campaign advertisement in the next couple of years where she just fell on her own. You know, she's trying to troll him and she completely failed. So try better next time, Elizabeth. She's from Massachusetts, right? I mean, I think it's time Massachusetts, you know, kind of looks at their leaders a little bit harder.
She's from the Indian reservation that that Paul Revere and the Raiders were singing about. Don't you remember?
Yeah, I do. And she doesn't learn. That's the thing. She doesn't learn from her past mistakes. She keeps making them over and over again, hoping that people will forget. But I think that's most of politicians anyway in Washington. They just, they just think that they have a second, third, and 9 lives to keep doing this stuff. To me, Elizabeth Warren, she's pure entertainment at this point. We know how she's going to vote anyway, but she is just pure entertainment. And that's what Congress has been, you guys. We need to change that. We need to just go back to basic lawmaking. How about that? How about that, guys?
Well, I have some entertainment for you out of the House for later on in the show. I'm going to save that one for Nancy and you when you come in. I want you to see that. It's the match of the century, at least. I would say the match of the year, because the match of last year involved one of these same Congress members. But let's go back to the Hesketh hearings, and again, we're going to talk to Tony a lot more about this because he knows Pete personally. He knows who the guy really is. Work with him. He knows the guy who's been in combat. He's perfectly qualified for this job. It's not because he's never been a pencil pusher. And that's the problem with today's Congress members. They are whiny and crying about, you've never managed this. Hire somebody to do the numbers. We need somebody to make the right decisions, and that's important. The buck stops with somebody. That's it. You don't need a lot of the problems we have in America is because pencil pushers are running these departments. How about this, though? This is the funniest, and it wasn't meant to be funny, but Richard Blumenthal was being as pretentious as possible and trying to tell Pete Hesketh off by saying, you were not qualified. Here he goes we'll just hear him.
I don't believe that you can tell this committee or the people of America that you are qualified to lead them. I would support you as the spokesperson for the Pentagon. I don't dispute your communication skills, but I believe that we are entitled to the facts here. I've asked for more documents. I assume you'd be willing to submit to an expanded FBI background check that interviews your colleagues, accountants, ex-wives, former spouses, sexual assault.
All right. See, here's what he's trying to pull here. He's trying to pull these unsubstantiated anonymous allegations against Pete Hesketh. And again, we're going to talk to Tony about that. I want to see what the Patriots think about that. Here's something here I want to ask all of you. Isn't it interesting how Democrats, when they accuse Republicans of saying something that might have a little bit of a questionable source by saying without evidence, adding that word without evidence, the media always adds without evidence. Donald Trump says this. Without evidence, Donald Trump says that. But when a Democrat does this, like Blumenthal here, or like Hirono, or somebody else, or anybody who pulls this sort of thing by getting anonymous sources, you never hear without evidence. Or when Joe Biden made all these assertions about numbers that he always messed up, but it was never without evidence, because the idea is you want to normalize the idea that Republicans say things without evidence, but Democrats never do because they tell the truth all the time, Angie.
No, and they don't use the word alleged either or name any sources. This is disgusting. And you know what? I'm so happy you're calling him out on the show right now, because you're right. He has nothing. If I did a opposition research on any of these guys in the Senate, you know how much I would find, we would have a whole library worth, all right? Which is exactly what Pete came back as. Like, how many people in this room have gone into the Senate floor and voted drunk? He came out swinging. He was ready. He goes, how many of you guys, please raise your hand, have cheated on your spouse? He went to town on these guys. Don't be a hypocrite, you guys. I'm so happy Pete knew how to navigate around the challenging waters. These guys, it's like, have they never ever been deposed before? Or have they never ever been on a trial before? Because these are questions that are easily fielded by just knocking them down with their own medicine. And that's what Democrats do all the time. They accuse you of exactly what they're doing. And then it's like, oh, well, look what you're doing. And they can't take their own medicine. I love it. I love what Pete said.
Leftist projection. That's what it is. That's what they do. And that is what they're into. And by the way, isn't this Blumenthal character the guy who lied about serving in Vietnam? Let's play that tape again.
We have learned something very important since the days that I served in Vietnam, and you exemplify it. Whatever we think about.
What did you serve? Tea?
I did not. Oh, that's good. That's really good. Oh, man. See, I'm telling you, they can't take their own medicine. And that's the best part about being in the media, is to serve it to them, right?
But he misspoke. That's another thing. He actually he didn't misspeak. He said he served in Vietnam. That's not misspoking. Man, that's not misspeaking. Misspeaking is when, well, pretty much anything Kamala Harris does. Because, she doesn't really mean what she's saying, but she has no idea what she's saying. Everything that comes out of that mouth is a misspoken word salad phrase. I get that. And yes, you do hear Trump misspeak once in a while because he switches a word, but a lot of older politicians will do that. This guy was relatively young. He flat out told a news conference, he said he served in Vietnam. He actually talked about his service in Vietnam. That's not a misspeak. And today it's always, that tweet, that should never have gone out. Somebody else tweeted that. I was hacked. That was it. I was hacked. Tweet.
Yeah, look, okay, again, no free pass for him, but he also understands he survives this news clip, right? This is going to have a shelf life of maybe a week and then it goes away. That's the sad part. Media is so quick these days. People have short memories, and in the history books, this is barely even going to be a blip. But I'm so happy you brought it up, Chris, to remind everybody of everyone. Like, that's why we have you. You're like the walking historical, book for trolling.
All right, fine. I'm a dork. Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to the Patriots here because I like watching what they have to say. Here you go. Denise 15. It was rich listening to him talk about balancing a budget. When was the last time they did? And that's true. These people are going, you've never balanced a budget before. I've actually heard this in this in the hearing. Yeah, okay, he's not a pencil pusher. I went through that. But the point is, these people aren't very good at it either, by the way.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so weird that Congress has become entertainment. Can't we just go back to being statesmen and, I don't know, like the law? I just feel like we need to just go back to basics very, very soon because and I get it. People want to have their face splashed all over the news and, be that person. But honestly, this is not about celebrity. This is about getting the job done. So I really do appreciate those in Washington who get the job done. And I don't know anything about Pete Hegseth. I don't know anything other than him being on Fox. But so far, I think he's, done a pretty good job at, standing up for himself and why he deserves to be defense secretary. I don't see a problem with him getting in. The only problem I see are Democrats trying to knock him out before he even begins. And I think, this kind of lack of respect, we see it over and over again, only because they're the losing party. That's all.
Well, here's how this works. Donald Trump sneaks a bunch of people in that he knows the Democrats aren't going to like so he can get his other people in. Hegseth is not one of those. Hegseth is a guy Donald Trump seems to want in, or at least definitely wants in. I'm hoping for that. Because this guy seems like he has a good head on his shoulders, and he seems like he can, and he does. He pretty much, his presence trolls Democrats because he's the kind of guy that will, just like Trump, turn around things that they say and bring them right back to them, just like he did with the raise your. That's true, and he did talk about the budget. Look, these people in Congress really I, could you tell me how qualified a lot of these people were when they came in? And
Ah,
again,
don't ask me that
you
question.
want to talk about the private sector versus the public sector? I never think career politicians are really qualified to do much else. They're qualified to push pencils, sign papers, and write legislation that nobody reads anyway, or at least hire somebody else to do so. A lot of these people, mm, they just worry about what the polls say and what the wind says, and their principles are gone because they think that their career is in politics rather than rather than the old days where somebody from the public sector would move into public service for a little while, do their thing, maybe get promoted by the voting public, and then leave gracefully and go back to the private sector.
So, Chris, do you support limits then? Because that's one of the bills that is being proposed right now in the 119th Congress. So far, I'm not sure who the signers of the bill are, but I have seen it being circulated. Term limits, maybe 2 or 3 terms per congressional member, and then you're out. You get your job done. There's no career in this other than maybe to move to the Senate or other races, but there's really no long-term play in Congress. What do you think?
Oh, here's the funny thing. We have people who these Congress members run every 2 years. And
Correct.
that means there's 1 year maybe they're actually doing work.
No, they're
Another
always
year,
campaigning, always campaigning.
right? Another year, they're trying to campaign, and that's a problem. That hinders the actual job they're doing. And on the one hand, you should go to the will of your people. You should actually act as if you're representing your constituents, but most of them only represent whatever national social agenda they're trying to put together, or whoever is able to donate to them and keep them afloat for all these years. And of course, believe me, the best way to tell when not to trust a politician is when they gain wealth exponentially from day one of public service through the years afterwards. And Biden's one of those. Obama's one of those. Pocahontas has been one of those. Bernie Sanders is one of those. Yeah, Mr. Socialist. Yeah, okay. Yes, I know his wife makes all sorts of money. And he gets the perks and the money and the books. He has his houses. Trust me. These people like the luxury they have. Even at AOC, Miss Woman of the People, got upset because she was only making $174,000 as a congresswoman.
And now she's worth like 30 million.
But she's also dressed. She also is given for events free dresses to wear.
Oh, that's the least of it, Chris.
Right.
Come on. She's given a lot of things, and she's actually a masterful fundraiser for the DNC, which is why they can't get rid of her, even though her socialist ideals have tanked the country. So here's what I think. I mean, I can't wait to run a candidate who I can say, hey, let's troll the Democrat incumbent. Let's, maybe do every single stock pick she does. I'm going to do the same as a candidate. And guess what? I'm going to spread the wealth to the community. I am going to buy exactly the same stocks as the incumbent. And then I am going to give it to we're just going to divide it up as a community. I can't wait to do that to someone because I know it'd just be a fun exercise to do. And that way you put the onus on those who think that they're day traders when they're really members of Congress. That's got to stop. I mean, that is just gross. They're doing it in your face. If they weren't in Congress, this would be inside trading and they'd be arrested.
Exactly. And let's have a little bit of fun here. In other hearings, did you see what happened between Stacey Street Crockett and Nancy Mace?
Did I miss the news this week? No, what? Show me.
Oh, this is fun. I believe we're going to be talking about this on Prime Roast, by the way, because we just have to do this. It's a short clip, but this is something. Here you go. We're going to preview a little bit of Prime Roast here, and I was hoping to wait for Nancy for this one, but we'll get her on in a few moments to get her thoughts on this. I believe she'll be. We're trying to get her in from the back studio here, so we'll work on that. Oh, wait, here she is right now. Let's get Nancy in on this. Nancy, welcome to Wake Up Patriots.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good
Hi.
morning. Check this out. We're talking about the HESCAF hearings. Now we're going to talk more about that when Tony comes back or a little beforehand because I have more clips for him. I got the Duckworth too much coffee clip, and we also have drunk Maisie Hirono talking about being drunk. This is going to be fun. However, on the other side of the quad, the House had its fun too. We had Nancy Mace and Stacey Street Crockett go at it a little bit here. Check this out. This is a lot of fun.
somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, 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 so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all
I
to
am
tell
no
me
child.
whether or
Do
not
not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I'm a grown
which
woman.
of those
I'm 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have.
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
will
am
in your life.
reclaiming my
So,
time.
you will not do that. I am not a
Chairman,
child.
I am
not a
reclaiming
child.
my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr.
we can
Chairman,
do
the
that.
committee is
Chairman,
not
okay,
in order.
order,
Just want to hear that. If you want to take it outside, I would love to see a fight between her and that Stacey Crockett. By the way, Crockett's the one that also started up with Marjorie Taylor Greene last year too, right?
Yeah, and that's what she makes her name off of, like the schoolyard bully, right? She does this on purpose to get
Yo,
hits and
child, we're gonna
likes.
do this. Yeah, that's right.
Listen, I want to take it outside with her. Let me play with her hair a little bit.
Ooh.
Let's go.
This sounds interesting, and this is getting more interesting. I'm liking this. So let's hear what Nancy. What do you think of this exchange? She's flabbergasted. I think Nancy's frozen.
No, she's blinking. Nancy, are you there? I thought I saw her blinking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I didn't hear you.
Oh,
I
did
hear
you?
you now. Okay.
Well, we just played that exchange between Nancy Mace and Stacey Street Crockett, who decided to verbally rumble it up during the middle of a congressional hearing. Look, Nancy Mace is correct. A lot of women do not want men in skirts or dresses or wigs going to the bathrooms with them. There is an intimidation factor, and there is also the chance that there are these fake trans people that are going to go in and could potentially assault women. You got to keep women out of danger. That's the most important thing. If a few people have to go to a different bathroom just because of that, and I'm talking about 3 or 4 people out of many, then so be it.
Listen, I can't even believe this is a subject. I don't know when it became that they should be able to go into our bathroom or ours into theirs. It's so obvious to me how far this has gone and why anybody would be upset that a female doesn't want a male in her bathroom, and it's a male. I don't care how you voice it. I don't care how they identify. If I were in the bathroom with one of my grandchildren and that walked in, the transgender walked in, I cannot tell you how I would lose it. I mean, I really would be upset. And I don't understand I'll never understand how we got where we are. Why these are even discussions. It makes no sense to me at all. You are not, this is one of the sticky subjects for me anyway. And it's really funny because I actually have my gynecologist, who is not my gynecologist anymore, only because they moved to California, is a transgender. He was a male his whole life. He was married and has a family. And him and I were very close while he was my doctor. And then he got close enough to me to reveal to me that he was having mental issues, is what he called them. This is not my words, and what they were about. And that's when he actually told me that he is, he feels he's been a female his whole life. He quit being my doctor. They fired him. And a year later, because he was an excellent doctor, a year later, he went to, he had the operation. He left his wife. It's like I felt like I got an even better understanding of what they go through. So, and I supported him doing what he had to do. And he's a female now. So he's a female now. And what's crazy is that he will not join the LGBTQ. And his reasoning is, I asked him why, and his reasoning is because of the grooming of children. That's one reason. It makes him sick that the LGBTQ is trying to initiate the MAP, minor attracted persons, instead of calling them pedophiles, into their vocabulary that it's simply a sexual identity. He's against all of that. So what he is a conservative transgender. That's what he is. So he goes out and speaks against it now. And he's gotten a lot of flack, for becoming a transgender, yet being against it. He would never, he is now a female. He's had the full operation, top to bottom, done. So he does go into the female bathroom, but he said, if I hadn't had the operation, I really wouldn't go. I just wouldn't go. I wouldn't feel right going in there. Even though I identify as a female, I would still, if I had the male part, I would still be going into the male bathroom.
Now, by the way, Tony's here. Tony's back. Welcome back.
Morning.
This
Tony.
comes from that little
Hey,
fight
Nancy.
between, this comes from the near fight between Nancy Mace and Stacey Street Crockett at the House committee hearing yesterday. But it's true. I do agree that a lot of people who are trans or gay or bi are not involved with these, or don't want to be involved with these people who want to include the maps, the groomers, and whatever else they can politically bring in. It's a horrible thing. And this even goes back to the 90s. Remember, I've said this before. Remember the 90s during the OJ trial, where the National Organization of Women were not speaking out about this to support the domestic violence, or in support of women who suffer domestic violence after Nicole Brown Simpson's murder. In an interview, Patricia Ireland, who I thought looked pretty good on the swimsuit issue of Sports Illustrated, she said the reason why we didn't speak about it is because it would destroy very powerful or very important political alliances. They don't really serve you. They serve themselves. Look, the Black Lives Matter chick, by the way, lost a couple of mansions, but she bought 3 mansions by raising money, claiming to speak for Black people. That one woman, that one founder, the lady, I always forget her name because it really didn't matter until the fire. Right. But now that you mention
trained Marxist.
Now that you mention all of this, and I want to bring this up, the funniest moment of the Pete Hegseth hearings happened with Senator Sheehy. Check it out.
How many genders are there? Tough one. Senator, there are 2 genders. I know that well. I'm a she, so.
Yeah. Tony, we
That's pretty good.
clips earlier. I have more. What were your thoughts on the?
Well, I have a question, and maybe Nancy would know since she's talking about this. Do you, Nancy? I know this may be Pentagon related, so I don't want to get you in trouble. But is it true that Lloyd Austin was actually going through transgender surgery, not as part of why he was unavailable? It really wasn't about prostate, was it? It was about he wanted to be. He wanted to get in touch with his feminine side. Is that true?
Probably. I actually don't know.
He wants to be, what's a good Austin? No, not Austin. Allison. Allison. He wanted to be Allison. Allison Austin. That's a great name.
It is a great name.
Well, it is. No, Zippity Doodads is his new name at the Pentagon, by the way. Just saying.
Zippity doodads. I like that. So let's talk a little more about this. What were your thoughts about watching this whole thing, the Hegseth hearings? Again, there were the typical Democrat accusations, but some of them were absolutely ridiculous and without evidence.
Aren't they always?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're adding without evidence here because the media won't do it.
Well, so did you see that one segment, Chris, where Senator Mullen basically accused the senators of coming and voting drunk? It's like, that was a great moment. Yeah, no, they did. It was great because Tim Kaine, my former senator, I'm now in North Carolina. He's in by the way, he's only 64 and he looks like he's Foster Brooks. They pull Foster Brooks out of the grave. What's up with him? I mean, my God.
Foster Brooks.
I love Foster Brooks.
Foster Brooks.
I know, he's great. He was funny.
He's great.
Tim Kaine is like the antithesis of Foster Brooks, but he looked like it. Anyway, yeah, well, I know we're geezing now for the audience. Like, I know, it's old-time humor. I saw a thing yesterday, Nancy, just for the old days. My friend Rich Little, they had Foster Brooks doing a roast of Dean Martin, and I'm friends with Dina Martin. So, it's all back in the days when people were funny. Now they're funny because they're stupid. Tim Kaine was stupid. Tim Kaine, during this segment, actually was all up in Pete's face about all these mistakes he made. It's like, hey, and Senator Mullen from Oklahoma pointed out, it's like, hey, I know people who actually come to the Senate and are drunk and vote. It's like, shouldn't there be a rule against that? Angie, you're the politician here. Shouldn't there be a rule against senators voting while they're drunk?
I don't think it's like going on an airplane where you have to take a breathalyzer, but maybe that's what they should have as you're walking through the doors at the Capitol. The other thing that Pete said was, well, how many of you guys, cheat on your spouse?
Yes.
Like, are you really gonna come at me with any sort of unfounded, no evidence accusations? Because I'm looking around the room and I gotta know some of your mistresses. So I love that he put it to them. I love that he called out the hypocrisy. We were saying earlier that Democrats always accuse you of doing exactly what they're doing, but they can't take their own medicine. So I think that's why we're here, is just to serve them up some medicine.
Yeah, so let's do that, because how can you go through a Senate hearing without being entertained by the lovely Mazie Hirono, who in what sounds like a drunken rant?
Amazing. She is amazing.
What's more amazing is how this woman gets elected every year. But she's trying to accuse Pete Hegseth about of alcoholism and all those other things, when she sounds like she's on a drunken rant herself.
I have read multiple reports of your regularly being drunk at work, including by people who worked with you at Fox News. Do you know that being drunk at work is prohibited for service members under the UCMJ?
Senator, those
Yes
are
or no?
multiple false anonymous
Right.
reports peddled by NBC
Do you
News
know
that
that
run directly
drinking on the job
contradictory to
is
the dozens of men and women at
not
Fox News
contemplated?
Channel
And
Whose speech
who I
is
work
slurring?
with,
I'm
who
not
came
hearing the
on
answer to my
record
question.
and said
In your
they've
opening
never seen
statement,
that.
Mr. Hegseth, you commit to holding leaders accountable at all levels. That includes you, of course. And frankly, as secretary, you will be on the job 24/7. You recently promised some of my Republican colleagues that you stopped drinking and won't drink if confirmed, correct?
Absolutely.
Will you resign as secretary of
All right, so here she goes. She's yapping her on about that. And then she goes on, without evidence. I don't know how drunk she was during all this, trying to say, oh, by the way, trying to claim he's going to invade Greenland.
is, would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Seriously.
We're just going to take over the trailer parks. That's all.
Right.
Only the trailer parks. Everything
You know
else
what?
we're going to leave alone.
Here's my answer to all of this. You know what? Match game was more fun when the celebrity panel was drunk. So I believe the Senate will be more fun. If the senators drank a little bit more.
Chris, I think she was. I posted this on my Twitter feed. If vodka were a person, it would be Senator Haruno. That would be her. So
absolutely.
But I want to add to this. So just so you all know, and I said this before for people to know, patriots to know, I know Pete. I've known Pete a long time. There's video of he and I out there. We used to meet on a regular basis up in New York when I was up running the London Center. I'd be on Fox, both in studio, and we'd get together. So I know him. He's not a drunk. I know drunks. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I know if someone's been drinking. I can sense it instantly, especially if someone's drinking heavy. And so, Pete, all this nonsense is nonsense. It didn't happen.
It's character assassination. When you have nothing else, that's what you have.
Now, I would also add, people should go to my Twitter feed and check out the meme of someone took AI and adjusted the questions from Senator Hirono to.
Oh, I saw that.
It is hilarious. I don't want to get into it because it's a bit potty humor, but it's funny. It's funny. So just say, you got to go check it out. So.
Oh, that's okay. We do have a nice fake meme as well here. That's or a little fake video that might be a little bit more fun for everybody that we can actually play on the air because there's it's a little less pottyish. But check this out. It's actually quite accurate if you think about it. This is oh my gosh, I'm trying to pull this up here. These darn controls. But you've heard all these arguments. Most of this is character assassination, liberal pablum, and things like that. Well, to me and to a lot of people, this is what it all sounded like.
Oh my God, bro.
And trust me, I'm in New York, and that's exactly what Senator Kirsten Gillibrand sounds like in real life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Ben, what was that cartoon? The Alvin and the Chipmunks, they all have this chipmunk thing going,
Yes. Oh, that's right. Ross Bagdasarian. That was David Seville's real name, by the way. He actually had hits on. He actually had top 100 hits under both names.
That's good.
Yes,
Well, but
yeah.
but back to the topic here. So, Angie, first to you, then Nancy. I want to ask you both this question. A score of 1 to 10. 10 being good, 1 being Joe Biden like. But a score of 1 to 10. How good were the women senators questioning of Pete Hegseth, and why?
How good were they? They were so good that
How effective?
They were so good that I even bothered watching because I knew it was going to be pure entertainment. Were they good? No, they're all just trying to grandstand. They're all trying to get their talking points in. At the end of the day, he was great. Pete was fantastic at answering all the questions, even though they were trying to talk over him so that he couldn't answer the questions. And I'm not sure if the transcript was able to actually capture the words that were coming out of Pete's mouth, but I hope they did. Their job was mainly to mess him up. Right. But here's a guy who's gone through multiple depositions. He's been witnesses. He's been media trained. You can't roll over someone like Pete. And I think that's ultimately, as much as the defense secretary, he's got a huge job. A lot of it is communication and to make sure that there is no media manipulation, because we know that's what half of war actually is. It's controlling the narrative, and he controlled the narrative, which tells me he can do the job.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Nancy, how about you? What's your view of from Joe Biden 1 to
a 1.
A 1. Yeah, I think 1. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think they take an oath of hypocrisy even when they come into office, honestly. I don't think I never, when I was younger, I didn't pay as much attention. I would hear things and have an opinion, but this is what it is now. The hypocrisy, it wasn't as obvious when I was younger. Now it's like, whoa, who are you if you're not a hypocrite? I mean, it's totally do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, here's a fun exchange between the also equally crazy Tammy Duckworth and this poor guy. He had to be subject to such mental illness during this entire Senate hearing. Let's listen in on this one.
And we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no, did you lead
We'll start there.
Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no, did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes or no, did you lead an audit? Yes or no?
Completely
what are you afraid of? You can't answer this question. Yes or no, did you lead an audit?
Oh my God. Yes or no? Are you a pencil pusher? Yes or no? Do you know how to add 3 and 3?
So having been in Pete's shoes, as Chris knows, running a nonprofit sucks. And I'm sorry, you don't run your own audit. The very basis of the question is incorrect. If you're a leader, you don't run the audit. You have internal controls, and you have outside auditors who come in to check your internal controls and expenditures. That's it. Right, Angie? You've been down this path too. So it's not even an appropriate question. The appropriate question is, Mr. Hegseth, how many audits have you been through, and what were the outcomes? Right? That's the adult question to have. But no. This was all about, to your point, Chris, gotcha, right? I mean,
but it also speaks to the Democrats' mentality. The idea is you have to be an academic or pencil pusher to run a department or to lead things, instead of somebody who's actually been involved, done things, and have led people beforehand in the chosen field. And they don't quite understand that, because they're in a world where pieces of paper and the ability to, I don't know, write a grant or two is what makes a leader. When in fact, the old concept of being able to handle situations, make important decisions, and not get frazzled in like no, just kidding. Not sound like Kamala Harris when you're trying to talk to people. That's a leader. But these Democrats don't really see it that way. They say,
Well, the Democrats were
so then you can't
unburdened
lead.
by what has been, Chris. That's
Right.
what it was.
Right. Pencil pushers is pencil pushers.
Why do they all sound like abused parents? When they talk to people, they
Yeah.
always talk down to you like you're some 2-year-old who needs abuse and to
Yes.
be, straightened out. It's really strange that is a commonality that I've been seeing amongst a lot of Democrats lately. They have to talk down to you like a child, and they have to be in a powerful position where it's almost abusive. I mean, if you look at that and you show it to like a social worker, they, you would get a knock on the door from child services, right? That's
Oh,
crazy the way she was talking.
Well, their prime Gen Z constituency still carries their stuffed animals around to work. So
Oh my
maybe
gosh.
there's something to that. I have Pete has got this hearing was actually very important in a lot of ways too. It exposed the Democrats' lack of knowledge of almost anything. It exposes their mentality. But I have a question for you in this, Tony, because this is a very important thing that he brought up and he discussed. Are there too many generals right now, and too many? Is the military too top heavy? He brings this up in this portion of the. I'll play the clip for you, and I want to hear what you think about that. Yeah.
Bloating. What are you going to do about that?
Senator, we're going to address that. We won World War II with 7 4-star generals. Today, we have 44 4-star generals. There's an inverse relationship between the size of staffs and victory on the battlefield. We don't need more bureaucracy at the top. We need more warfighters empowered at the bottom.
What are your thoughts?
Now, I may have sent a note to Pete on this subject, just saying. And one of the things I may have said, not saying I did, is that you need to focus on something called measures of effectiveness, not measures of performance. Now, let me explain that. Now, I've actually lectured on this at the Army War College and at the Army Asymmetric Warfare Group. We have become tied to this idea that we will set up an artificial set of performance standards. Like Angie, did you tell Joe, who wants to be Josephine, that it's okay? The Army loves him because it's his transgenderism that makes us strong. So you have a standard of wanting to embrace DEI. That's a standard. But does it actually help you perform an effective, successful implementation of your mission? No. So this performance standard has no relation to effectiveness. Did you win? Well, no, I didn't win because I was over here helping people find the right bathroom. So that's got to stop. And I think Pete, that's what Pete's saying. It's like, yeah, we're going to look at this clearly for what it is. And that inverse thing with generals. I mean, and I'm close friends with Blaine Holt. General Holt and I are friends, and we agree. It's like, you don't need so many generals. We have a huge, and by the way, people tend to forget this. And I think someone brought it up yesterday. I don't want to take credit for it, but my friend Don Rumsfeld had made a speech on the 10th of September of 2001, the day before 9/11, about how he intended to go after the bloat in the Pentagon. Now, Don, I know a lot of people are critical of him. I like Don. Don and I became friends despite the fact I was a whistleblower against him. And I think that's part of why I think they wanted to distract Don Rumsfeld, from doing the review, because this bloat is something that has dogged every administration. And that's what they're most afraid of. They're afraid of the fact that he's not going to be loyal to the institution. He's not going to be loyal to Raytheon. Where did Lloyd Austin come from? Angie, do you know where Lloyd Austin came from?
No.
Not the gates of hell. The gates of hell is the wrong answer. Just saying. So, but he came from General Dynamics, I believe. He was on the board. So maybe, do you think Lloyd Austin's compromised? Just saying.
Just a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. So that's got to stop. And by the way, they had to get a waiver for Lloyd Austin to become SecDef, right? Because he was a general. And yet, and then, by the way, the other thing, I'm sorry I'm ranting here, but the other thing about yesterday, who approved all of those budgets that the Pentagon busts? They were complaining about Pete not being able to audit. Really? Who approved the unlimited spending of the Pentagon, the freaking
Or-
Senate, right?
Or the 7 failed audits. Are we up to number 7 now?
Right.
How many audits did the Pentagon fail in the last 2 years?
But the situation, is it way too top heavy? Even little chick 66 was saying this. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Well, what I say,
Yeah.
when it comes to anything, the only chiefs I really like are Paul Newman and these guys, the
Okay.
Hanson brothers.
Boy.
Had to do that. Had to do that. Slapshot was a classic.
What's that old line? Too
I've
many
never
cooks
seen it.
spoil the broth.
Oh, that's something you have to see. Slapshot. If you're a hockey fan, you need it. It's required watching.
I watched a B classic last night, Supernova.
Oh, that's a good one.
Spader. I liked that. I was like, I'd never seen that before. It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
No, put
So-
Slapshot on your list there. You'll actually like this one.
Is that about Tony? Is that about Anthony Blinken and his college days when he was his name was Spanky Banana? Is that the same contract? Is that a different one? I just get these things mixed up. I don't know. I don't know these things. So I'm just trying to figure things out. So
I think-
anyway, back to the topic of but Nancy, you and I speak offline, full disclosure, we're friends. But one of the things that always concerns me about our conversations, not that we have them, I'm concerned about the fact that we're talking about things which we agree, you and I agree, are really detrimental to the American public. And one of those is the Pentagon's inability to actually focus on defense issues, and they stray off to do other things. So do you think that's one of the things they're afraid Pete Hegseth is going to stop? This idea that Pentagon goes off and does all these random, probably insidious things to the American people?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I do too. And I think that they're even, now that Trump won by such a majority, I think they're even running more scared. So I don't think that it's good for us, but it's bad for them. And I think they're really showing their fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know that
Well,
old saying, too many cooks spoil the broth with the general. I mean, it's so true.
Think about this. This is what they're all worried about. It's like Pete's going to be overseeing a budget of nearly $1 trillion a year, 800 plus billion. Does any people?
Wow.
The idea of that is preposterous on its face now, and we haven't won a war yet. We have a more expensive military than ever. We have more bureaucrats, more generals than ever, and they're up to all these nefarious things. And nobody seems to be concerned about the fact that Pete's the only guy in the room and says, "Hey, this is enough." Everybody else is like, "Oh, well, we're upset that you're going to stop the train." I don't get it. So
No, they are. As a matter of fact, he also talked about this when it came to generals working with defense contractors after retiring. He wants to put a moratorium on that for, I believe, 10 years, I believe that is. And there were some questions about that. I believe he explained it rather well. And again, let's see what you ladies and gentlemen think about this particular one here. Let's hear what Hesketh had to say about generals going into the defense sector.
I feel, frankly, a little bit liberated. He said, I didn't work at Lockheed or any number of, pick a defense contractor. I didn't mean to point one out in particular. Pick any. I haven't. I don't have a special interest in any particular system or any particular company or any particular narrative. I want to know what works. I want to know what defeats our enemies, what keeps us safe, what deters them, what keeps our enemies up at night. Whatever that is, I want more of it. And I want to invest in it. And I know that's the view that President Trump has as well.
The question here is, should there be there definitely should be a little less incentive for a general to find his or her way into, and again, this also happened with the question with what's her name, with Pocahontas or whatever. She actually tried to pull that off, and he said he wasn't a general. The thing is, though, the idea is, should there be some kind of no incentive? There should be an incentive or some way to keep these generals from going right into the defense sector with all their political connections,
right,
and causing a kind of intertwination between the two where there really shouldn't be.
It's called crossing the streams.
There you go.
It's in Ghostbusters.
Don't cross the
Oh,
streams.
that's a good
Cross
reference.
the streams.
But isn't that the reason why Pete was chosen by President Trump? Is that he did not he's not coming in with a bunch of IOUs and friends in the in the defense contract industry. And I think, the fact that he's not going to be a lobbyist, he's coming in kind of relatively clean. That's what I want, right? At the end of the day. And if he wants, people to not go into private sector after this, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of the pathway of why you would take a government job, right? Everyone thinks there's a payday at the end, because certainly, working for the government, you're not making more than 6 figures, except for Anthony Fauci. But other than that, this is your resume builder.
Well, let me cover that for a second. I have a number of general officers who are friends. Despite my being critical of them, we are friends. And Angie, they make a lot of money as retirees. They do.
Really?
It's not, oh my God. You can go Google the DOD pay chart for 2024, 2025 and look at 07 through 08, the general officers. These people on active duty are pulling down something like, I don't know, close to $18,000 a month, and then they have on top of that allowances for another $5,000 non-taxable. So always look at, it's don't be thinking these guys need the money. They don't. They do. I mean, they do in that they get these huge paychecks, but it's also about influence. It's about prestige. It's about the idea that you get to continue to run around pretending you're in charge of big things. And
ego.
You are.
It's about ego.
It's all ego. It's all ego. And Pete doesn't bring the ego to the table. It's kind of like, I'm here to do my job. And I think that's what scares him. It's like, they're not going to get to him. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon is like, yeah, dude, I don't care. And I think that's what makes him super dangerous to that. And of course, the left, he's not emotional. He's not all into, all the feelings issues that clearly was on display yesterday.
Wait. So he's not going to be doing any DEI hiring? Oh, darn. Those Democrats are really going to be devastated with that one.
Free hugs. Free
hugs. Well,
so, Nancy, I have a question for you. Do you think that maybe we are being too hard on DEI? Do you think maybe as a concession, we should make everybody wear kilts as a common item of clothing for everybody so that everybody wears a skirt from here on? Do you think maybe that's an idea?
I do not think we're being too hard on DEI. And I am the wrong person to ask that.
Well, I like the kilts idea though, because we don't have to. Let's put it this way: there are certain undergarments that are not required with kilts. So
That's right.
I'm happy with that.
That's right.
That's right. I don't want anything getting in the way. Or as what was it? Or as Kramer would have said, "I'm out and I'm loving it."
That's right. So I can't think of a better image than Mark Milley running around in the kilt and high heels.
Not Lloyd Austin.
Oh my God.
Lloyd Austin, he's kind of in transition. Don't bother him. He's kind of torn, literally. Just saying.
But again,
Ixnay on the surgery commenting. We're not going to talk about that.
No, but we're going to miss the Jake Sullivan Beaker comparisons when
oh my God,
that administration's gone.
Yeah, you guys know I've got the Jake Sullivan decision tool right here. It's like, okay, here we go. Jake Sullivan's decision tool, the magic pickle. Will there be a ceasefire today? Will there be a ceasefire? No, but I'll still say yes. It'll make you feel better. That's what Jake. That's how Jake gets his decisions. There you go. That's right. There you go. So that's how he makes his decisions. That's right. So he pushes this little button. See, there you go. The crunchy yes. There you go. So that's the decision making. That's the AI, the White House AI. So it's not worked out too well so far, right, Chris?
No, it has not. But it hasn't worked. No. It's worked out less for the Biden administration at this point, unless it's like, hey, should I destroy the world today somehow before Trump gets in? Of course, the pickle will say yes.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
How long actually, till what time does this show run?
Only a couple more minutes, actually.
Oh,
yeah, we're almost done.
Yeah.
I so wanted to get input on the California fires.
Well, go talk about it. Tell us about it. Let's go through this right now.
Yeah, to me, it's such a huge issue, and I just want to know kind of where everybody sits on you know, there's a lot of controversy going on around about it. We all know what we think of Newsom, all that good stuff. But,
Yeah.
but what's going around, obviously, the biggest thing is kind of like comparing it to Maui, the land grab. What are they going to do with the Pacific Palisades? All that stuff that's conspiracy theorists would be bringing up. Does anyone here think that this was even possible, that this was done on purpose?
So I'll go first. So I think that I don't believe in random chance. First off, Nancy, there were credible meteorological experts forecasting the Santa Ana winds on the first of this month.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying, hey, you know that thing that drives, and I've talked to Cherie about this, you know, our friend Cherie Curry. Cherie had winds in her backyard of 80 to 100 miles an hour. She said everything got flattened. And Cherie, she's just not too far from Topanga. She's just a little bit off of Topanga. So people knew these winds were coming. And yet Mayor Bass goes off to Africa? Really? Gavin Newsom pays no attention to these massive, redundant, often tragic winds, the Santa Ana winds. This was known. This was a known threat. They knew it was coming. So you tell me that this inaction, this inability of everybody to have water, to have resources. I didn't know California didn't have its own water-bearing aircraft. We had to bring in the Canadians from Quebec. By the way, God bless those guys. Have you seen those guys in the yellow airplanes? Holy cow!
Yeah, they've done a
Why
good
doesn't
job.
California have those? So I don't know.
It takes money away from the DEI programs. There we go.
Angie, what do you think?
Didn't he drain a reservoir like 2 weeks before the fires?
There's a lot of these theories coming around. Look, what I think, it happened. We're going to investigate why it happened. There's a lot of theories being thrown online. I'm of the mindset in 2025 to let the news rest for 48 hours before I've made up my mind, because there's a lot of narratives being thrown at us, right? To just get us all crazy. Ultimately, it happened. I think President Trump in his first week should do a federalized land grab and just take back all that land, pay everybody out, because guess what? Joe Biden's only going to offer them $600 or whatever he's going to offer them for their pain and suffering. All right. So why don't we take back that land, do something with it, build the best 2028 Olympic village that we can possibly build before the Democrats divvy up that land. Because we haven't just seen it in Maui. We haven't just seen it in the Palisades in Los Angeles. We also saw this in Gaza as well, where they completely flattened central Gaza. And guess what they're doing? Oh, well, I think Hilton's going to get one. That resort's going to get one. Everyone already has been parceled off. What else are we doing? Where else have we seen this land grab in recent years? Oh, let's see. Rikers Island in, next to Manhattan, right? You're now seeing all of this. This is not, this is not planned, because we're now seeing that there's payback. And I don't want Gavin Newsom doing that. I don't want him parceling off the land. I think President Trump should get his team in there, figure out what's going on, and at least designate that space as a temporary hold, even for some sort of federal building, before anyone else gets in there and starts messing it up, because that's the end goal, is to pay back everybody who's, I guess, contributed. None of this is a coincidence. I don't believe in that anymore. I am seeing this all over the place and around the world. And we're going to see a lot more of it until we put a stop to it.
I don't dismiss the idea that some of these politicians were hoping this would happen, and we're saying, well, we're not going to cause the problem, but if something does happen, we're very well prepared for that sort of thing. In fact, back in 2020, was it 2019? 2019, the Los Angeles mayor at that time commissioned a group of people to put together a plan for Smart LA 2028 in preparation for the Olympics coming in, and of course, moving forward. A lot of this, they discussed some problems, and the infrastructure itself was a huge problem when it came to initiating this Smart LA. And you can read more into this, but it's more of a DEI inclusive, but it's a very inclusive, social justice friendly, smart tech services all over the place. LA, which could almost mirror your 15-minute city theory, but
It is.
it's
No,
close
I mean,
enough that.
Chris,
But the Democrats never, ever, ever let a good tragedy or crisis go to waste.
no,
And I believe this is what's going on.
where they want to quote unquote build back better. They want to implement you'll own nothing and be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what this is all about. This is what this is all about. There's
Agenda
no doubt.
2030. And you know what?
Yeah.
I can hear all the stuff and all the theories out there. What I always, and I don't have facts, obviously, but what I do go by strongly and have actually my whole life is my gut. And my gut tells me something really stinks. Big time.
Absolutely.
And I don't care if I have facts, to tell you the truth at this point. If it's a gnawing feeling, it usually serves me very well, and something is really wrong.
And Nancy, I'm going to add to that. I mean, if you're a new home buyer or just buying another home in the last few years, you know what you can't get anymore?
Insurance.
Oh, flood and fire insurance.
That's right. Yes.
Right? You
Exactly.
try to buy
It's
a
high
home,
risk.
especially here in Florida, you can only get a premium up to like a certain amount, like $250,000. Well, guess what? Your house on the beach side, that's going to be a few $1,000,000. You're going to have to buy multiple premiums, multiple policies to at least insure your house. Now, this has been happening. Why? Because I'm sorry to say this, but Democrats produce a 10-year prediction map, right? A flood map where everything is going to be underwater according to AOC. So, and they use this as a guide to say, here's our science, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're going to base our policies off the science. And so if you lose your home in a fire in LA, you're only going to get X amount back.
Right.
There's another side to this coin, Angie, though, and keep this
Please.
in mind. We have if you have seen your insurance rates, I'm sure all the Patriots have seen this.
Crazy.
Insurance rates have gone up across the board around the country because there has to be a way to make up for all these things that are happening. There has to be a way, or somebody else has to pay in, and that's what's going on. So the pool has to pay more as well.
I want to hit that real quick, because we got to go. We got to wrap it up. But let me say this: in addition to the clear and concise meteorological forecasts that, hey, the Santa Ana winds are coming, you better get your act together. Weeks before this, the people who are most invested, to Chris's point, in making sure that they can make money, the insurance companies pulled out. It's like, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people think that they're to blame. I don't.
No, I don't either.
If your job is to assess risk, and you see California making bad decisions relating to the collective security of your own growth, all the growth of all the different debris, forest management, debris management. It's not climate change. It's actual just good resource management. That's what it is. And if you see that's not being done, and you know that the Topanga Canyon's a tinderbox, well, I guess maybe they're not going to insure people. So I'm tired of the insurance people getting a bad rap here. I think they've got to act based on their own interests. And oh, by the way, how was that not an indicator to California? Maybe we're missing something, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, this is the people in charge. They're making these, as you said, these bad decisions, and the insurance companies know that their other customers around the country are sick and tired of paying in to having to help fund all these other high risk areas. So that's one of the reasons your state farms of the world have pulled out over there. And that is important to note as well. We can't just immediately make him the bad guy, and that's a very fair point.
So I was texting with Dean Cain this morning. I don't know if you all saw Dean posted last night on X a video of where his family's house was. So I was texting with Dean, and I feel terrible about that because another close friend of ours of the show, Chris and I anyway, and our team is Bob Hayes, Robert Hayes from Airplane. He lost his house in the Woolsey fire of 2018. So a lot of these people that we know personally have gone through this. Dean Cain's the latest, and just to your point, to both you, Nancy and Angie, you both said this. It's going to be near impossible to build back because of the regulations, the expense, everything else. No insurance is going to ever, even if you have insurance, it's not going to adequately cover what you lost, right?
No. Nope.
So
what's going to happen to everyone? Because right
know.
now, the housing
I don't know.
market, they can't even go even 50 miles in either direction without a huge jump in rent. There's just no inventory. So do you
Right.
think now other cities are to get populated? Do you think Florida, Texas, maybe other places,
Well,
Nevada is
as
going to
a-
have a bunch of newcomers?
Well, someone that Nancy and I both knows has been asking if that person should leave LA, and the question becomes, where do they go? And I don't know. Vegas was brought up as a potential location. I know there's parts of Vegas. My dear friend Jerry Doyle used to live in Vegas.
Well, that's a gamble, though.
That's true. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
You can always go to Laughlin.
statement.
Laughlin needs
True
some
statement.
people. Yeah.
True statement. Have you
Well,
thought,
they
Chris?
gotta
Have you
go
thought about being a
somewhere.
waitress in a casino out there? You probably make a lot of money.
I
They pay
actually
you more
did
than
work.
I pay you.
I did work once as a waitress in a cocktail bar. That much
There
is
you
true.
go.
But even then, I knew I'd find a
they
much
still
better
address
place.
DEI out there too, I guess. You know. So there
Hey,
you
you
go.
know what? Yeah, because I was going to sue them because my legs were hairy means they didn't want to hire me. Yeah, that's right. And that's what scared them into hiring me.
Well,
So I got the job as a waitress in a
and did- and-
cocktail bar
and did
until
the
Phil
kids
Oakley
put-
found me.
Did the kids put their hand on your legs and feel your hair like Joe Biden? Is that what they did?
I had a sniffer or two there. That's what happens.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of sniffers, we got to go. We have smelled all the Democrat shenanigans we can take for one day, right?
Yeah, and we need a gas mask.
So Nancy, I want to have you back. So we're gonna try to have Dean Kane on. Maybe I'll try to get you and Dean on together at the same time.
That would be
So I
good.
want him to talk
That'd be
first. You
great.
know, it's early out there. I mean, it's one thing for us, kind of, from the middle and middle right side of the country, the left coast. You know, the land of fruit and nuts. Just saying. So they're out there. So we'll try to have them on soon. But otherwise, we're gonna be off till Monday. And then we got Trixie coming in. Chris,
Trixie and
Friday?
Deborah Lynn on Friday. It's
Deborah Lynn,
yep.
they'll be in.
And we'll
So
do an
otherwise-
inauguration special on Monday.
Yeah, that's right. So by the way, I'm not going to the inauguration. I turned down tickets.
You did?
Jim Woolsey and I attended back in 2017, and it's cold and miserable. Just saying. So I don't have a speaking role, so it's like I'm happy to watch from TV, and we'll be doing our show and all that. So it was very I'll thank you, person who offered me the tickets. They were really good tickets, but I just got over my cold from being at the Army Navy game and being outside most of that, and that was in November. So I'm
jinxed
good
the
for
team,
now.
too.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So anyways, Patriots, we love you all. Thank you for being here. It's been a great chat. People are paying attention, and I think that's the one thing we can continue to do is help people kind of circle the square or connect the dots, whatever you want to say about what's going on. And Angie, we always love you. Love the fact that you and I are both like politicians now, right?
Oh, don't say that bad P word.
You guys are politicians. You're Pauls.
No, we're talking heads, spreading the message. Look, let's just get the narrative right. I don't care if that's all we have to win that war is to make sure that no one else manipulates the message.
We do.
Yeah.
So, all right. So speaking of the message, we'll be back next week. We'll have some good guests to join us. Hopefully we'll get them out of bed early since they're out on the left coast, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks, Patriots. Thanks,
Thank
Nancy.
you.
Thanks, Angie. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
See you.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.